we're going to spend a little bit of time today talking about duplicate data entry, which I'm sure everybody loves, right? So Jarel and I are the owners of GravityCerts. I'm on the insurance side of things. I've been an insurance agent for 20 plus years. Jarel is the techie guru and does all of the, he's the one that actually pieces all this together and makes the automation work. So I'm just going to talk for a few minutes about the initial steps of how we get customer data, and then Jarel's going to take a deep dive into what it looks like to get the information, get the data into Nowcerts so that you don't have to type it over, to how to get it into Accord forms, how to get it into different systems, supplementals, so that it's really reducing that need for us to continue to enter the same information. Because I'm sure you guys are like me, and it's like the modern age of insurance, and we should be able to not have to type in names, date of birth, VIN numbers, property addresses over and over again into a million different systems. So we created this for our own agency, and it was working so well. I was like, I think we need to share this with other people, so everyone has an idea of what we've been doing. Jarel, do you want to just share your screen with us on the quotes or this quote submission forms? Okay, so everybody has different versions of intake forms, right? How do we gather information for clients? So we have a couple different options for you. And again, this is all on your website. So that is one of the key features of working with GravityCerts, is that we want this on your website so that it's boosting your SEO, you're getting found better on Google, and it makes your agency 24/7 accessible to your prospects and to your clients, because sometimes people want to get you information at 9 o'clock on a Friday night, and if they have to call your office to give you the information over the phone, or they're piece emailing you like a deck page here or a few pieces of information here, you're still having to internalize that in the agency. Somebody's got to put that into your AMS Nowcerts or to your CRM and to quote forms. And so how do we streamline that, right? How do we create a easy process? So on your website, you can put custom forms. So today we're just going to talk about personal lines forms, but we do commercial as well. We do special trucking forms. We have different niche markets. So depending on what your agency does, when you become a customer of GravityCerts, we give you all these pre-built forms. And if you need something specific, Jarel can work with you to add specific questions. Some agencies want to simplify the quote forms. Some want to expand them. So he really will work with you to create the specific questions that you need. But these are our standard forms. So what the client does is they'll go to your website and they can put in the information. Right now, Jarel is on the agent intake form. So we have two ways to get this information. Either they can call your office and your agents can open this screen and they can start taking the information down. So instead of like manually handwriting it or putting it onto some other kind of Word doc or something, they can just very smoothly ask the questions of the client, and then everything that's in here is going to get pushed directly into Nowcerts, and it's going to create a prospect in Nowcerts. It's going to push all the data in there, and Jarel will show you that here in just a minute. But we have these two options. Again, whether it is for the client doing it themselves on your website, or them calling the agency, or even if they walk into the agency, having your agents go to this specific client intake form, or agent intake form, I should say. They can kind of bounce around if they want to ask specific questions. They're not, the agent intake form is not as well, I guess it's more specific, but it allows the agent to bounce around and not answer specific questions depending on their conversation with the client, versus when the client is on your website, there are required fields, like they obviously have to give you an email address and a phone number and their date of birth and the VIN number. But it's just a different way of doing it, but it does the same thing in the fact that it will push that data into Nowcerts. So if you can get your client to do it on their own, which, you know, nowadays a lot of people are used to going to their banks or Amazon or whatever it is online and entering information. So, and a lot of people want to do that at a time and place that's convenient for them. So a lot of times when people call our office, we give them the option, hey, I need to gather some information from you. So would you like me to spend 10 minutes or so gathering it from you now? Or at your convenience, you can visit our website and you can, it'll ask you all the information that we need in order to get a quote. And then you'll get an email. And we can set that up for whoever in your office wants to receive new submissions. But you'll get an email saying, hey, you have a new home submission or a new auto or whatever it is, so that you know you have a new submission. Plus it gets automatically entered into Nowcerts as a prospect. So those are a couple different options on how to do that. But I'm going to let Jarel take over and kind of go through some of the forms to show you how the process works and getting that pushed directly into Nowcerts. And it can also go directly into Automate. So if any of you are using Automate as your CRM, we can push it into that. AgencyZoom, we can also do some things into, and a few other, like if you're using a different CRM, then we have a few other options for that as well.
I will unmute here. I just wanted to, I guess, stop and say hi to everybody so everyone can see my face here real quick before I jump back into sharing my screen here. So just hello, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to be on here. Let me go ahead and share my screen again. So we have lots of intake forms, like Elizabeth just said. We have forms for personal lines, commercial lines, trucking, contractors, life, annuities, all sorts of different forms. They can also be customized as well, depending on the states and the type of carriers that you write with. Obviously somebody in the Midwest probably doesn't need to ask about hurricane clips and straps like you would probably in Florida, or somewhere, needing information about earthquake versus not needing that. So we can customize those forms as well. A lot of conditionals are already built into the forms for you. So here, this is just an example on our agency dashboard website, which is an internal website for the agency to help stay on track and organized. But I have this example personal lines form. It's a multi-line quote form here. If everybody can see this, I have home, auto, life, umbrella, then motorcycle chosen. And then I pre-filled this form here so it would be easy just to make it a little quicker here on this webinar. So we're calling this person webinar June 8th. So that's the main person. And then we have their email here. So now just kind of going through the form, you can see the mailing address, the primary insured's info, their license number and state. There's a co-applicant that I put in here and some of their information. And then we go and move into the property information here. There's an option to put the name of the title. If it's titled in a trust or an LLC or something, we can put that in there. Purchase price if it's a new purchase, and all sorts of extra information for the quote here. So, and being the agent intake form, this one is going to have a little more information versus the one that's designed more for the customer. So that's on the front facing site for them, because it's not going to have as much information about the home. They probably, which I'll show you here, scrolling down, they may or may not know roof and plumbing updates and water heater updates, things like that, or different coverages that they want. So there's lots of information inside here. This one here, we can actually kind of help calculate. Here's a little estimator based on the square feet and then the price per square feet. So if I just change this to say 375, it'll automatically update and give you a little rough estimate. And then we can put in the actual dwelling coverage that we want to put in here. So, and then we can automatically populate your different coverages, B, C, and D based on different percents. It'll do that for you as well, just to kind of help get through the process. And then say if I want to put, you know, it'll update it automatically every time you update your coverage A. So then if we keep walking through the form here, additional homeowners coverages, some underwriting information. And then down here is where we're asking about all the extra drivers and vehicles for this account here. So I have 5 additional drivers. So we have the primary insured, the co-insured, and then 5 additional drivers. And then I have, I believe this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 different vehicles listed in here too. So, and you can add as many as you want. This is using a nested form where it comes right in here. You ask the information. And then the vehicles, asking the information about the vehicles. And none of this is really required, so you can put as much or as little information in here as you want, just depending on how much time the person has, if you're on the phone with them for this example one. Current auto carriers.
Jarel, real quick, sorry. Show them the VIN check. So, you know, a lot of times you guys, when your agents or your CSRs are taking a VIN number down, they might not get all the digits, or they might, you know, replace an I with a 1 or something. So this is nice too, because if the insured is reading you off the VIN number, you can just check it right here as you're getting, so you can get the correct information the first time, which is again going to help streamline the quoting process.
This one, we do an API call over to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. So that's where we actually look up the VIN and decode it for you. So it'll even do partial VINs, even if you get like, you know, 9 or 10 digits. It does a pretty good job of at least being able to grab the year, make, model. And then as you get more digits in the VIN, that's where it gives you, you know, trims and series and different options in the vehicle. But even with just a partial VIN, it does a good job of grabbing the basic information. So that's a nice thing to have in there as well, even if you don't quite get the entire VIN, you know, exactly correct. So then moving on down here, auto coverages, some motorcycle coverages, and then some umbrella coverages down here. And it also gives you an estimated liability risk based on the person's annual income. Say if I change this to, you know, 100,000, it'll lower the liability in here. Maybe if I change this to net worth of, you know, maybe get rid of that and just do 100,000. We can see the estimated liability risk in here. And then maybe we would want to change this to $1 million umbrella, you know, but if they have an extra 0 in there, maybe we want to bump that up to 2 or 3 million. So, and then down here, we have some life insurance questions, some basic info, and then information for claims, where we can put some notes in here about any claims, and then just any additional comments that you might have. This is probably going to be filled out after you're on the phone with the client, and then you want to put in any other notes. You can also drop any files in here if they happen to send you any files as well. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this here all in real time, and we'll see what happens. So this is going to submit into Nowcerts. So this just submitted. And now it's going to send a series of all of this information, creating the prospect, adding all the vehicles, the drivers, documents. It'll actually generate a PDF of the entire quote and upload that into Nowcerts as well. So if I go into Nowcerts here, and we'll look for this person. This is just pulled up right in here. So this is the prospect that was created. And now as we're waiting for this to load, this might take sometimes 30 or 40 seconds, you know, maybe a minute because it's processing about 20 or so different API calls to push at each vehicle, each driver, adding all the primary insureds. We also added all the tags up here as well. So we tagged it with the lines of business and then the property address state. So this comes in really handy for everybody that's using Automate. So these tags will also push into Automate when it's creating the prospect over there. And from these tags, you can trigger any sort of workflow that you can imagine. So we could even add tags for referral sources. That comes in really handy. So maybe you could send out an email to a referral partner when somebody submits, and just so that the referral partner knows. Or you can set up any number of workflows. Really, the sky's the limit. Or based on the type of line of business that they're interested in, you can send them a different series of emails depending on that as well, or the state that they're in. So lots that can be done with these tags here. So we can see the primary contact was added in here, the secondary contact, and then this was added the trust name also as a contact. We started doing this recently because that way you can actually search up here. You can search by the trust or the LLC name when it's listed as a contact. So we start adding that in here as well. All their emails, the phone numbers are added. So now that it's been a few seconds, let me refresh this page. Since there was so much information submitted on that form, now we can see the vehicles came through, the drivers came through. Now we have the property address as well. We notice down here, we're submitting a note also, where we can put all sorts of information in here, say when it was submitted, the types of business that they wanted, who submitted it, which agent did it, and then any of these comments as well that were added. So that's added as a note as well. And then we have all the vehicles, VINs, year, make, model, years, some values that we put in here, all the driver information with driver's license numbers and states, date of birth. So quite a bit of information added into here. If I go into the property, we see some of the property information that was added into here once Nowcerts loads. So address, square feet put in here, the coverages that were saved in here, and deductibles, and a few other information in here like year built, number of stories, the garage, number of vehicles. Just some of the questions that were asked in that form. Was all this information was added into here. So then if I go back to the main page, we also can push in custom fields as well. That gets really powerful because we can actually push in hundreds of data points into Nowcerts. So if I go into insured items, you can see all the vehicles added, the drivers, a property, and then down here we have all these custom fields. There's 96 custom fields that were added into here. So I click onto this. These are some of my test panels, but it was saved right in here. So this is all the extra information that was pushed into Nowcerts. And all of these custom fields, those can be used to map into various accords and supplementals, custom supplementals that you get from the carriers or any of your brokers. You can use these custom fields to map into there. That's a whole separate webinar with Nowcerts on how to map information. But lots of information, data pushed into here, into Nowcerts. Then if we go into the documents, these were the couple pictures. I uploaded a couple pictures with there. So we can see a sample picture here, this sample picture. So any deck pages, auto ID cards, home or auto pictures, whatever you want, pictures of driver's licenses. All of those files are going to be attached automatically in here. And then it also generates a PDF of the entire quote submission and attaches that as well. So if I open this up, this is basically just a carbon copy, a generation of the entire form here. So we can have this on record, go back to reference it anytime. It's time stamped into Nowcerts. So it's good just to keep on hand for E&O, so we know exactly what was submitted and exactly, you know, when it was submitted, and have everything dialed in right here, so we can see all the information that was submitted. So quite a bit of information that that we're able to put into Nowcerts right here. And now if we go into the documents, I'll go into forms, and I'll just show an example of this general star supplemental. So I've already pre-mapped some of the fields onto here. So if I go to edit this PDF, this form in here, so I'll pick GravityCerts as the agent, and then I have all the vehicles here, so I'll check all of these. And then as I scroll down here, you can see how this PDF has now been mapped with a lot of this information in here. We see the trust name is added, you know, the property mailing address, emails. I picked some other additional auto coverages and put those in here as well. Current auto carrier. This was that claim information. I just stuck this in this field and mapped it to this field. And then here I mapped some of the vehicle information. So we can see 5 of the vehicles added in here, lines of business. So this is where it becomes really powerful and really helps to basically eliminate any sort of duplicate data entry by just using the forms on your website, whether that's through the agent facing form or the client facing form. All that information can push directly into Nowcerts for you, so you don't have to type it in over and over. And then you can map into various accords and supplementals. And then once those are set up, then every time you load up that form, it'll auto-populate the information that you have mapped into these. So you can see how this really helps save time and really get rid of any sort of duplicate data entry. So that's a quick little overview of getting the information from the website into Nowcerts and getting it into a lot of these PDFs into here. We do have some other options as well. We do have an integration with Canopy Connect. If anybody knows who they are, they're a company that can actually go and grab information using the client's login to actually go and grab their deck pages and their policy information through an API call from them. So we have a custom integration built out with Canopy Connect where they go and do their thing, grab the information from the carrier. We then go and grab that information from Canopy Connect and pre-fill it onto these forms. So for the client-facing forms, they have the option to say, you know, with a little button up here, they can click the button for Canopy Connect to log into, say, State Farm or Farmers or Travelers or whatever it is. Authorize that. Canopy Connect will go and grab their information, and then we'll actually go and pre-fill the information on the form for them. And then most of their information is actually already pre-filled for them. And then they can just go in and kind of tidy up the information that they need to and submit it really fast. We can also take the documents that are pulled from Canopy Connect from the carrier and push those directly into Nowcerts as well. And those will go directly into the client files. So if I go back in here, anybody who uses Canopy Connect will go into the files where I was just a second ago, right up in here. And all the policy deck pages, the auto ID cards, any of that came from the carrier through Canopy Connect, all that will be listed in here as well. So quite a bit of information that can get pulled directly from the carrier through Canopy Connect as well. So Elizabeth, have any?
I was just gonna say that this, you guys save so much time. I can't even tell you, with having it this way. First of all, just create the prospect, and can you guys imagine entering all those VINs and driver's licenses, and it's a lot of data. So having that pre-filled for you, granted, if your agent or your CSR is taking it on the phone with the client, they're entering it one time. A lot of clients will actually do it themselves when you give them that option. And they can also, there's a button, if they don't want to type out the VIN numbers, there's an option on the client facing forms where it says, either enter my information manually and they can type it all in, or they can send you the deck, upload a copy of the deck page so they don't have to do it. So that's the only caveat to when the client's doing it. If they don't want to take the time to fill out the VIN numbers, then they can just attach their deck page. And then when you get the submission, at least that deck page is put into Nowcerts, so someone in your office can go in and they would have to manually type in the VIN number one time. But again, it will pre-fill to any Accord app, especially if you're doing commercial auto or you're doing general liability. Someone asked earlier about workers' comp. When you fill out the commercial quote request form, that is like a whole monster in itself. So it can get super granular. And asking very specific questions about commercial insurance. Yeah, you could select all these different ones. And again, it's going to pre-fill all of that into Nowcerts under general liability tab or property tab or workers' comp tab, whatever it is. But saving your agency so much time so you guys can just start quoting right off the bat instead of having to like, oh, I forgot to ask this question, and oh, we didn't get the correct VIN number. Just a whole slew of issues. We're just trying to help streamline that process of gathering the information correctly the first time, right? All about efficiency. And then pre-filling that into Nowcerts, excuse me, for you, which also then populates over into now Automate or AgencyZoom or Jarel. What's the other couple ones that we can go into?
We can work with HubSpot, Salesforce, to MailChimp,
Better
Zoho,
Agency a little bit, not
Better
as much, but
using Zapier.
yeah,
there's a number of options that we can help integrate with. So.
Yeah. Greg asked a question about, can these quote forms be integrated with Easy Links? So from our understanding, because we used to have Easy Links, if you have the sales center, which is like a whole separate section, we can push some of this information into that if you're using them for your quoting system, but it's limited because we can only push what Easy Links will allow. So it's not as robust as using Nowcerts or Automate, but you are going to get some basic information like name, date of birth, mailing address, some things, whatever Zapier fields will allow them to push in, you can do that. And I'm not sure about Quote Rush. We're getting it right into the AMSs and the CRMs right now, and we are working on getting some quoting definitely with some raters. But if it's into Nowcerts and you're linked, Nowcerts offers a few different integration partners with some quoting. I don't know if it's PL Rater or Turbo Rater, but whatever Nowcerts has an integration with, once that data is into Nowcerts, you could then push that data into a rating system. So I would have to have you go back and check which integration partners Nowcerts uses for quote system. But
Liz, I have a question.
Yeah.
I know that you mentioned that we can go ahead and put this onto our website. I currently use Jotform as my form provider on my website, just because I use Squarespace as my website designer. And I had to Google what would integrate with them because I didn't know that there was something else called WordPress and there's a Wix, and I'm definitely not a web designer. So I had to YouTube a lot of this stuff. So is this a platform that I would be able to go ahead and put onto my Squarespace, or do I have to have a WordPress? Because then someone asked me, well, do you know if Squarespace is built on WordPress? I'm like, I've never heard WordPress in my life until now, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. So yes, these quote forms would be on a website hosted by GravityCerts, which is us. So if you wanted to have all this, and these are on Gravity forms, not Jot forms. So they are a different type of form builder, and they're a little bit more robust, and you can add more conditionals. And because you're an insurance person like me and not a web designer, that's why we have Jarel, and we will let him build all those forms out. And that's something that you wouldn't have to do with us. Like, these are already pre-built forms, they're done for you. So if we host your website, you can say we want all of these different forms, or we just specifically want personal lines or commercial or trucking or whatever it is. And we build all those forms out for you on your website.
Okay, so in essence, I would have two websites. Then I would either shut down my Squarespace and have one of you guys hosting it, or
Yeah.
decide
You
to
wouldn't have two, you would just have the one. So we would do a redesign for you and move the content from your site over. We do this all the time for people. Just kind of like switching insurance agencies, right? You go from one to another. So it's same principle. So yeah, we would take what you like about your website, and maybe some things you want to change, and then specifically what forms you would want. And then you would stop paying for all of that and your jot forms. With us, you get Gravity forms for free when you sign up with one of our agency or with one of our website packages. So it's not an additional form. It's not an additional fee that you have to pay. You get those forms for free.
Okay.
Yeah. Because as you know, if you've just kind of started dabbling in that, to create these custom forms and to push all this data and to move and migrate data back and forth is very complicated. And to make it streamless and to make it easy for the agency plus the clients takes a lot of time and effort. And so that's why we've built these forms on Gravity Forms. And Jarel's been using WordPress and Gravity Forms for 20 plus years as a developer. So he's super familiar with how to do it. When I first came on and I was like, hey, can you build me out some forms? And I have no idea how it all works. It's like magic to me. The data just pushes and pulls back and forth, but he really understands how the forms and the data need to work and how to set it up so that it works correctly.
Yeah, it took me about a week on JotForm to do one form. And
Yeah.
then it said that I had too many drop-down options and too many of my boxes had multiple choice questions. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. No, this is done for you. So that's good.
Show everybody one additional bonus in addition to having all the forms ready to go for you that either the agent or a CSR could fill out, or the client could fill out on the website. We also built out a custom integration with Nowcerts called Client Center. So this is a big game changer for a lot of agencies. So this is an example of the Client Center here that would be on your website that's hosted by GravityCerts. Here, the client can just easily create an account on your website, put in their name, create a username and password, and then they can go to this Client Center page, and then they're able to actually see all of their information through about a dozen different API calls and actually see all of their policy information right here. So it makes it super easy for clients. They can see their policies listed, view the policy details, see their policy number, effective dates, the premiums, this homeowner's policy, and this is listing all the different coverage types that are pulled into here, different limits, deductibles, credits and surcharges on here. So it's a really easy way for clients to at a glance see all sorts of information about their policy, see what type of coverages they have, or if they want to submit a claim because they have a water damage claim, they don't know if they want to actually submit that or not. So they can come in here and look at their, how much water damage coverage they have or what their deductibles are. So it makes it really easy for clients to come into here. And then they can also do service requests right here. These service requests, mailing address changes, adding, removing drivers, changing mortgagees, all of that. This will also get pushed into Nowcerts as well and create a service request. It can be emailed to any of your CSRs or account managers or whoever you want to go ahead and process that change, but that'll also push into Nowcerts as well, make it really easy for you. So you're not actually having to type a lot of this data in too. It'll make a note into Nowcerts as well. So just to help really streamline your process and your servicing once they do become a client, makes it a lot easier to actually service your clients too. So they're helping just reduce those emails, reduce those phone calls that the office is getting. They can just come right in here into the Client Center and view all sorts of information on their policy. They can also view their documents as well that are in here. So this is everything in that red insured visible file. So if I go back into Nowcerts, you all probably have seen this folder in here, the insured visible files. This right here, this client center pulls everything from that. So, and then they're able to actually download their files right from here. They can add files as well. They can upload them. They can also create folders as well, so they can share documents with you too. We can go into folders and subfolders, and it's all real time. So as soon as you upload anything into that red folder or create a folder in there, it's immediately available for the client. So really easy way to help service clients. They can just come into here anytime, 24/7, online, or like while they're at DMV, they can download a copy of their auto ID card if they need to do that. But it makes it really, really easy for clients. They can see their claims in here as well and report a claim. This won't actually submit it out to the carrier. This will submit it to you and push it into Nowcerts as just a pending claim. And then you can follow up with them to see if it should be submitted out to the carrier. If you're doing multiple accounts with them, say you're doing their personal accounts and their commercial accounts as well, they can toggle between all of those. So it looks for their different accounts based on their email address. And then they're able to toggle between multiple accounts also. So this would be going over to this other commercial account that I have listed here. And then it's showing the, the commercial auto policy. It can be these details. This will go and grab the policies and show all the vehicles, the auto coverages, and the drivers associated with this policy. So really easy for clients to be able to come in here and manage their policies. A lot of clients like accessing this, accessing their documents. Just makes it really easy for them so that they don't have to, call the office or email you and then wait for a response. They get what they want when they want it, immediately. So just a quick little overview with this.
All right, well, we do offer a lot of different things, not just websites and forms, but like Jarel just went over the client center. We have an internal dashboard that is a whole separate webinar, but that's how you get the agent intake forms. It's like a back-end website. So when you sign up with us to host your website, you actually get two websites. You get your main customer-facing website, which is your main website, and then you get an internal back-end, kind of like intranet site, which has carrier information. It's really, you get a lot of pre-built content with it, but it really helps keep your agency organized instead of having Excel spreadsheets and whatever to have user IDs and passwords. Has a whole slew of other things which we could get into later, or if you guys want to book a demo, we can go into that in more detail. We also have quote proposal forms, which again can get pre-filled from Nowcerts and from a lot of different options to be able to show your clients how to present better with different options. So, and we have some other integrations as well. So we'd be happy to show you guys individually how this might benefit your agency, really how to set yourself apart from other agencies that are still emailing quotes as PDFs, especially for your clients that maybe you don't come into the office and you still want to have that extra little service, that concierge insurance service. So we offer a lot of different options, and we'd be happy to go over that with you guys. But I want to keep it short and sweet. I know you all have work to do. So if anybody has any questions, we can do that now. Otherwise, we will record this and put it up on our YouTube channel. Again, you guys can book a demo right from GravityCerts.com. You can go to book a demo, and then Jarel will take more time with you individually and see how we could help you. Julie asked if there's a link to a form that we can email the client. Yes. If you go to your website, whatever it is, Julie, .com, and then it'll be / like quotes or get started or something like that. Because depending on if they want homeowner's quote or a commercial quote, depending on what it is, you can go to that specific link. So yeah, that you can do that however you see fit.